All right. I report, you decide. No, it's I report, I decide, okay? I report, I decide. It finally hit me today. People like Jake Tapper, Leslie Stahl, Scott Pelley, they have no idea what the other half of America are saying or posting or thinking about or where they live. They live their entire lives in silos, completely unaware of what the other half of the country is thinking. But I don't even think they know they're doing it, seriously. And if you don't like them, they just think you're an extremist, like a heretic. Think about that. I've dealt with this. People that I know who are Democrats, they look at me and they're like, oh, there's that Newsmax guy. I know what Jake Tapper is saying because I watch his show, not all the time. I watch 60 Minutes. I watch Nicole Wallace. I read the New York Times on Sunday. Not every day. I know what they're saying, though. But I do that. They don't do what I do. They don't watch Newsmax. None of them do. And as a result, they don't realize that they are completely out of touch with half of the country.
What was the feeling about that particular opening salvo to the team?
Uh-oh. She, I am told, said something to the effect of, why do you think the country thinks you're biased? But she didn't offer any kind of a metric. You know, what's your metric? Why do you think so? Do you have a poll? Is there market research? What are you talking about? Because we certainly didn't believe that.
Right. Do you have a poll, or is there some sort of market research opportunity to prove that half the country thinks you're biased? Scott, have you heard yourself speak Scott? Have you ever even opened Twitter, or is that beneath you? Have you a poll, or maybe two polls or three polls, and you put them on top of each other and they form almost an M? Scott, have you ever even watched 60 Minutes? Like, you ever gone home on Sunday and watched the product? Are you honestly going to sit there pronouncing all the silent H's in every word? I hate when people do that. When? Why? Where? It's where, when, why. When? Where? Are you going to sit there and try to convince people that 60 Minutes is somehow not biased? Barry Weiss knows it's bias. It didn't surprise me at all, because that's how out of touch these real journalists really are. So let's take a little trip down memory lane, shall we? And take a good, honest look at 60 Minutes. Maybe Barry Weiss could even play this for the newsroom tomorrow. Just days before the 2020 election, and there are all these stories out there about this Hunter Biden laptop, but not on 60 Minutes.
It's the biggest, second biggest scandal. So the biggest scandal was when they spied on my campaign. They spied on my campaign.
Well, there's no real evidence of that.
Of course there is.
No.
It's all over the place. Leslie,
Sir,
they spied on my campaign and they got caught.
Can I say something? You know, this is 60 Minutes, and we can't put on things we can't verify.
You won't put it on because it's bad for Biden.
We can't put on things we can't verify.
Leslie, they spied on my campaign.
Well, we can't verify
It's been totally verified.
No.
No. We can't put things on that we cannot verification. Okay, this is 60 Minutes. This is Finnerty. Okay, we can't just put things on Newsmax that we can't verification. Because 60 Minutes didn't want to verify the Hunter Biden laptop, and that interview helped Joe Biden win the election because 60 Minutes picked a side and they lied to their audience, and that's a fact that we knew then. Because the laptop was real. And Scott, here's that poll that you were asking about, by the way. Turns out 80% of Americans think that covering up the laptop story in 2020 helped swing the election for Joe Biden. You know who did that poll? Gallup, okay? And what about the time when 60 Minutes correspondent Sharon Alfonsi flew all the way to Germany when Joe Biden was president to laugh it up and have a great time with the German Ministry of Truth, who legally take people's cell phones away if you post something on social media that they don't like?
How do people react when you take their phones from them?
They are shocked. It's a kind of punishment if you lose your smartphone. It's even worse than the fine you have to pay.
Because your whole life is typically on your phone now.
Right. Yeah, your whole life is like on your mobile phone. So I wish they had this in America. They don't. Maybe they will. You Germans seem to be pretty progressive. To hell with the First Amendment, right? We want to make sure people aren't saying mean things on the Facebook.com. Take out the... And who can forget the time when, right before the 2024 election, this just happened? Bill Whitaker. Why? And 60 Minutes edited a Kamala Harris response to a very simple question that any vice president should be able to answer to make her sound better. So we're going to play you what she really said first, and then what 60 Minutes aired on Sunday.
It seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
You still think 60 Minutes isn't biased, Scott? You still need that poll, Scott? You still wondering why people think that you're biased? Have you a poll? And who can forget about the time that Scott Pelley himself sat down with Moms for Liberty, these are mothers, okay, who were fighting against sexually explicit books in public school libraries, including elementary schools, but Scott doesn't care because, according to Scott, these mothers were being evasive.
Parents send their children to school to be educated, not indoctrinated into ideology.
What ideology are they being indoctrinated into?
Let's just say children in America cannot read.
They often dodged questions with talking points.
You're being evasive.
Tiffany Justice read from sexually explicit books written for older teens, but found in a few lower schools. Moms for Liberty takes a kernel of truth and concludes these examples are not rare mistakes, but a plot to sexualize children.
These are just like moms trying to do the right thing for their children, and you're being evasive. No, the Supreme Court says they weren't being evasive, and that's exactly why half the country thinks that Scott Pelley is a dope. And I mean that. And I hope this helps Scott in his future endeavors. I really do. But that's why 60 Minutes is failing. And I report, I decide.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.